Oh, and good evening. It's January 22nd, 2026, and welcome back to another season, another episode of Sons of the Father. We're continuing our discussion on The Chosen, right? We're in season 5, created by Dallas Jenkins, and tonight we're going to continue exploring episode 5, Because of Me. This is our part 2. Because during this series, my dad, John Warren, my brother Jim Warren, and I, we're going to talk. We're going to reflect on things that have impacted us as we watch these episodes, maybe even unpack some thoughts. So, welcome this evening to the Sons of the Father on the Dusty Feet. Our hope with the Dusty Feet is to foster discussion and to help build and support communities. If you are not already connected to a community or just want to share and interact, this community has 4 primary ways to interact. 1. TheDustyFeet.com. That's our primary place to find everything. You are always free to comment. 2. Substack. Link is in the description below. It's designed around the written and spoken text. It's a place to connect to ourselves and others. 3. Facebook at The Dusty Feet. These videos and other videos are also available for comment and discussion. 4. And as always, you're welcome to send an email to bob@thedustyfeet.com. These places, they will be moderated and guidelines will be set to ensure healthy, safe discussion. And as always on the Dusty Feet, this is a place where we can safely explore the endless ways of God and the interconnection of His creation. Belief understandings may be challenged, divine misunderstandings may exist, and traditional teachings might falter as we pursue connection, context, and community with God and each other here in an environment of grace and love. Oh, and of course, before we forget, if you do find these kinds of podcasts useful, please click that subscribe button. Those reminders, they just help you. But also, if you think these might be useful to others, that is when you click that like button, because that is how YouTube chooses to share these to more people if they wish. And of course, remember, we have all the previous seasons available for you to review and discuss. All of them are on thedustyfeet.com. Season 5, Episode 5, Because of Me. This is our part 2. So again, we always begin with a caution to ourselves. We must continue to remember, this is a storyteller's tale. It is not a biblical recounting. So much is left unsaid in Scripture. We are the ones that fill in the blanks in our minds, each with a slightly different rendering. These stories wrapped around stories. So we just need to remain aware of the differences between the story as it's expressed in Scripture and the tale that they portray here. We, of course, will try to do our best to be careful and respectful to the text and to the story as we wander through season 5. So there's a common thing that we do, and it's sometimes I do it all the time. We play the same song over and over again. But in this particular episode, it kind of gets that way, and then it goes sideways really fast in this unexpected way. We just need to be fair in this interaction. This whole scene that's in this, it's wrapped around a single verse in Matthew, right? It's in Matthew 27, verse 19. And it's while he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent word to him, have nothing to do with that innocent man, for today I have suffered a great deal because of a dream about him. So it's just one of those things, so I know it's going to come up when we're talking, but it just reminds me that sometimes in our storytelling penchant, that we need to remember that, different texts will move things around, take it and make it a bigger scene. Do I like it? We're going to talk about that. But things we need to remember in our storytelling time. So, okay, Daddy, will pick up. You had starting thoughts that you
Well,
said.
what we talked about last time, and with the disciples, um, they're totally confused about what's happening,
Yeah.
but they're all trying to fix it. Okay, how can we make this work? How can we get this to go the way we have felt it should go? And that's what we do in our own lives, what we do in real life. If something isn't going the way it's supposed to go, what can I do to change it so it will go the way I want it to go? Jesus is telling them that they're going to be servants, they're going to be followers, they're going to be people who are taking care of others, and he's going to be gone. That is just not acceptable for those that have invested, as they're saying. You mean I've been wrong for 3 years? I mean, he's not going to be around, and it would be disarming, to say the least, for me. If I remember one of the leaders left the ministry that I was working at, and he was the reason why I came to work there, is who he was, and just a solid guy, good man, and he was moving on. He wanted to change, and I was trying to talk him out of it, not really knowing the whole story, of course, of why he was. And what happened? They hired Doug, who was the past president of Hyundai, and took the ministry, and it exploded under him. This is what they didn't know, that the ministry was going to explode after Jesus dies. And they could not, you couldn't talk to him. You couldn't have explained that. You couldn't have told them that. Don't worry, everything's going to be great. No, everything's not going to be great, was in my head, because I was living in the moment. That's one of the advantages, and you guys are somewhat there, but that's one of the advantages of getting older, is you see something that was going to be a tragedy, you thought, turned out to be, oh gosh, God had a better idea. And that's what's going on here. God's got the best idea, but they're not thinking about that.
Yeah.
If they're going to be servants.
Well, they can't know it either. To be fair with us, to give us some slack too, is that we think we're doing. And Dad, your talk with him, it's like not knowing his full story, or not knowing what's going to play out afterwards. You're only thinking, like we're hearing them talk about, is the way they pictured happening to them in the moment. But there's no way they have the vision that far forward. That's not in their thinking. They're not forward thinkers. And the majority of us are not, to be honest.
Well, that's the beauty of going through what we're going through.
Yeah.
Is to discuss it, to talk about it, so that we can, as individuals, think about that sort of thing in our own lives.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world because this happened. Because where do I put my trust? Where do I put my faith? And that's what Jesus is saying to them, and that's where we're at. So, okay, I got some more things, but go ahead, Jim. I'll let you talk.
Okay, Jimmy, go, and then, because I know he's got.
I realize this episode is called Because of Me. I think it should have been called I'll Fix This, because you see each of these different groups of people. The disciples, they hear Jesus says, I'm going to be, handed over. And they're like, no, I'll fix this. We'll figure this out. We're not going to let you do this. Then you got the religious leaders. Jesus is starting to get the crowds for him. And they're like, we can't have that. We'll fix this. We'll bind together. We'll figure out. And then you got Atticus, who is frustrated with Pontius Pilate. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go take care of this. You just be ready. Okay, I'll fix this. And then Pontius Pilate, when they're talking, at one point, he's like, oh, I'll just fine them money, and that'll help pay for the taxes and squelch the crowd. So I'll fix this. It's like everybody wants to fix the situation. Everybody wants to be in control of something. And the entire time, Jesus is saying, surrender. It's about surrendering to God. Nobody wants to surrender. Nobody wants to let loose the controls. And is that not us today? Absolutely. We want to hang on when Jesus says, "Let go."
Mm-hmm. The guys, the way they're telling the story, I think is a nice way. This is my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I think the responses that they give for people have legs. They have
absolutely
probability. They're believable. They're not left field. There's some of them are things we haven't thought about before, which I like a lot. I like being stretched and going, oh, I never thought of it that way. But it's not like you're like going, well, that can't happen. That's not possible because ... kind of thing. So I like how they work this out. That whole interaction again, like I mentioned earlier, we have Pontius's wife, and she's listening to the song and it stops, and she starts it again. So you're listening, you're going, okay, I kind of get it. And then the scene pans backwards through the doors to Pilate, who's now, you've realized he's hearing the song again. and because we've all been there, this is the fun part about being alive, is that for those that didn't get that, that's, you haven't been in that situation, and I understand it. I do, because not everybody gets put in that situation, but it was so painful to go, oh yeah, listening to something for the who knows how many times and doing it, and he's like, and for her, she's playing it out of depression on her part, meaning something's bothering her, not she's depressed. There's something that's bothering her. She's playing the song again and again and again, and he bursts through the doors and he's like, what is the problem? And then, so she just unleashes her. We use this term a lot in our churchy ways, and we hear the word, I've heard a word. Okay. And that is, you can throw darts at a barn door and it will go how many different ways that's been portrayed. This was interesting because her sharing of what was bothering her from her dream were words, not a story. It was an interesting thing to me. It kind of got me. And so we, the listener, is assigning things to the words.
Those words. Yep.
Right? I mean, left field. She says lion. I go to Chronicles of Narnia. Okay. who goes there?
Right.
Okay. Anybody else that went there, raise their hand, and we're going to be like 3 crickets in a room of whatever, But yeah, I mean, just an interesting way for him to be exposed to that particular part of the story. And she's genuine, and she's like, I'm distraught and I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
And Dad, it ties right back into our penchant as men, as whatevers, to fix this. And boy, does he just stick his foot in it.
Yeah. When
he says to her, you haven't had to make a tough, I went, no, don't say it. Oh, he said it. You haven't had to make a tough decision and you realize, oh my gosh, he just said it.
Oops. Yeah.
And there's like, if I could take that back. And she looked at him and said, you just answered. No, but wait, nope. You just answered it for me. Yeah. It was easy to be in his sandals for that. Put those on. Oh yeah. Those were easy sandals to wear. Yeah. In this one, it's uncomfortable that it's easy to put on Pilot sandals in this one. But for me, it is the way they're writing him. So,
well, anybody that's been in leadership, that's what we're called to do. Fix it. My boss said that to me probably 1,000 times while I was working there. Okay, what are you going to do to fix it? And that would be the logical term. The logical thing in his mind was, let me fix this. Tell me what it is, and I'll fix it. because that's what he's paid to do. And going back to what you said, Bob, that doesn't solve anything because you can't. There's some things you can't fix.
Yeah.
And I ran into it. Every person that's taking a breath today has run into it or will run into it.
Or will, yeah.
Yeah. And that's, we all look for someone to blame or to fix a problem.
Ooh.
So
Wait,
if we
Dad,
can't fix it,
say that again.
we always look for someone to blame or fix a problem. So
I like
this and that's what the disciples did to each other. When they're sitting in the room.
Yeah.
They're saying, "Well, you said, no, I didn't say that." You know, you're caught because there isn't an answer for them right now. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to solve it. They're trying to fix it. Somewhere else here. Oh yeah, when Caiaphas and his brother-in-law get into it, I thought that was classic.
Oh yeah.
And the poor sister's in the middle, and he's saying, you know, wait till Dad hears that what he can't fix. You know, this is gonna, and then I'm gonna be the big shot. Instead of coming together and working this through, it's okay. You make a mistake, then I'll look better. And I have to say, I've done that myself, and I've had it done to me. And that's when I was looking at this. The disciples are confused. The leaders are I love this one too, where the leaders walking through the streets and the people are separating. It's very subtle. And if you've never experienced it, I saw it once when I was in Romania, and there was this priest, high dude. I'm not saying they were all like that, but he was. It was walking, and they were parting the ways, and he would stop, and they would come up and kiss his ring, and he was walking towards me, and I was there doing something else and talking to some people about distributing some wheelchairs, doing something very Christian, and I was going to eat this guy up. If he came up to me, I was going to tell him. And he stopped about 10 feet from me, and he looked at me, and he said, "I don't want to go there." And he just turned off and went the other way. But it really kind of got in my face because I really wasn't any better than he was, because I was going to tell him where he could put his ring finger. Yeah.
Ring.
And it just, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? What is this all about? Instead of, fill in the blank for whatever I could have done that would have been Christ honoring.
Yeah.
And not a bunch of people knew it, but he knew it and I knew it. And God knew it, of course, the most important. And that's what they're going through here.
Yeah.
Just a mass amount of stories, things that weren't fulfilled. So what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And how do we salvage this? Mary's out in the streets looking for somebody, not sure who she was looking for. And like you said, Atticus, he had his boys, and we don't know what went on there, but all of these different scenarios are happening at the exact same time, and that's what's going on around us. Do I trust God? Do I put my trust in him, or am I going to try to figure it out and fix it? And this is something I still am at. I'm not at odds with it anymore, but I'm dealing with it because I do trust him. But what does that mean?
Yeah.
And
words
that's what
sound good.
With.
What's that look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's hard because one of the things that I like about this particular tale, in the way Dallas tells his stories, and Jimmy, give us paying attention to when we are in a story, because we get those. There's some European ones that I like to do that all the time. They keep bouncing back to dates to throw you back to where when they were da da da, and you're bouncing this figure back and forth. So realizing where we're at in the story, when we've left the Last Supper, that last Passover meal time, to shift back to current. But that all these stories are going along parallel. And I'll bite. Let's use this term, that all of this is what God wills. In other words, what he wants. Okay. Which is interesting to say, because I'll even give some liberty and leeway to allow. So I'll go both on that. But allowance merely means I'm going to let you run loose. I'm going to let the reins loose. You want, go ahead. My allowing you to loosen the reins shows I can pull back the reins, but I can let those go too. So it goes both ways, control and letting go of control. But the stories that are going on, you wouldn't think, like if you took them isolated, they wouldn't relate to each other. Crime stories, you have red string boards, right? So you got all these different things, and they're trying to get these stories to connect. They have these pieces, and they're doing it, right? And Sherlock Holmes, he's the master of having what appears to be unrelated stories that tie him back to his arch nemesis, Moriarty, right? And how that connects to this. So how does Atticus going in to see Kaphne is going to tie into the story? How does Mary, who is, and Dad, it's an interesting term. I didn't think of this as this, but it hit me this way when you said it, was even Mary's trying to fix something. Because normally we attach that's a male, that's a predominantly male attitude. And I think it is. It's not that it's not isolated to that. I think it's just, maybe it's a cultural thing on top of it all, along with our penchant to not read instructions. We'll go deeper into that later. But in that, even Mary's looking for something else, because she doesn't want I think she's more like Matthew, and they're getting it, like Andrew. They understand what's going on, and they don't want it to play out that way.
Right.
And part of it because it hurts so much, but they're these stories, and you're seeing her and you're doing that, and you go, how are they related to where we're going to get to with Judas, and how are they going to loop back around into each other? But yet we know if we say things, Dad, like I trust that God has this in deal, then we have to be aware that there's other parallel stories going on in our lives and around in this big picture, and somebody else is doing something that we don't understand, but is going to accomplish something in a time that we don't know, or past when we know, or past our lifetime, that's going to take our input and their input. It's going to take Atticus's input and Mary's input and take them all together and draw us somewhere. Yeah. And Dad, it's a tough picture to draw, because we like to see, all of them aren't seeing far. Neither do we. And so how do we say we trust God, but we want it now, right? It's kind of like patience. Yeah.
Well, it's something that you have to experience. And if you've experienced it over and over and over, but you only see that I shouldn't say we, I only see that in retrospect.
Right.
As I look back and I saw, if they hadn't gotten rid of Mike, Doug, we never would have hired Doug. And there was a guy that saw things that none of the rest of us saw. And he led us in a way that I had never been led before. But there's a couple of things that I noticed in this. One of them, Pontius thinks he has it all figured out, but he's terrified. He's terrified of what could happen. And the two stories, how can something unravel and come together at the same time?
Wait. Again. Well, I'm going to do it twice in one episode. Dad, say that again.
How can something unravel and come together at the same time? Because it's Jesus knows what's going to happen and what's going to come together. And what they see is going to all unravel. And as I was looking at that, and I'm thinking how many times that's happened in my own life. When I just said when this one guy left, I figured, what are we going to do? And they were going to hire somebody nice. He was a good guy, but it wasn't. I mean, in my picture, in my mind, he was going to be my boss. And anyway, that's unravel and coming together.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing in retrospect to see that that's what God was doing the whole time. And that in my life, the whole time, he has his plan. Now, how it all unravels is going to be different. And we can be part of it or not.
Well,
but it's not going to change.
Well, you asked the question, though, on the unraveling part, are we willing to accept that we're part of the unraveling? In other words, the unraveling isn't always an individual, like one person unraveling.
Absolutely.
It's a series. I use this example often in that it's the Hebrews were roughly 400 years in Egypt, right? The last, and it's a debate whether it's 250 or 150 of the last years were really when it got impactfully negative. Okay, impactfully negative. But let's go short. Let's go 150 years. Okay, just for fun. Okay, so for 150 years, it's unraveling. Okay, and you're part of the unraveling story. Do you see yourself as, oh, we're in the unraveling part?
I didn't.
No. And we. So in our story we go and maybe we don't believe that could happen to us. I'm not. I think it's a cautionary tale to ourselves, but that's just one of those things that says we're so pinched that the answer comes in our lifetime. I see this point that God's will be done. It always comes out good, and I go, the Bible story doesn't tell that story at all. There will eventually be a time at the end where all that, Dad, like you said, it all comes together, right? It will unravel and then intertwine. It'll connect at the end, but until then, the rinse, wash, repeat. Yeah.
That's where for me, that's where the trust comes in. Do I trust God? When I left the ministry and they, eliminated the position that I had, and so where are you going to go? You're not going to go there. I would never have been able to go to Uganda. I would never have been part of building that school. I would never have had a chance to work with Jim. I would never have had the opportunity to do those pastors' conferences that 3-4 years ago. They still, the last time was maybe 6 months ago. They when are you going to come back and do another pastors' conference? And I'm 84 years old, dude. I ain't coming back.
Not going to happen.
But that thing that at the time, it seemed like, oh my gosh, everything I had in my head planned. No. And that's that. It's all in retrospect,
right?
That we can look at it,
right?
But it doesn't change. If I had stayed at JAF, that other thing still would have happened. Maybe, maybe not. Something better, maybe. Whatever. That's not the issue.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is, do I trust God in the situation I'm in?
Mm-hmm.
We know people that have been healed. Well, personally, I've never met anybody that's been healed. My ex-boss wasn't healed, and yet she built a ministry that had impact worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's and in this thing here that's happening with Jesus, if he hadn't died, where would we be? That's the thing, that the beauty of it.
As I'm listening to you guys, image came, and I actually just looked it up. So I love and we've talked about this before, the Japanese art form of kintsugi or kintsugi.
Oh yeah,
broken,
which I love.
Put back together.
Yes.
Okay. There needs to be another imagery like this. Not that though, but what you're talking about, Dad. How can something unravel and come together at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Think silk.
Mm-hmm.
The silk comes from a silkworm created this little ball of, a spun ball of silk for itself. And when you create a silk thread, you're unraveling that little ball of silk,
mm-hmm.
and that thread is going up and coming together with several others to create a strong thread, which now becomes woven into a beautiful fabric.
There you go.
And is that not what all of the Hebrew scriptures is?
Mm-hmm.
Stories of this unraveling life being woven into a bigger picture. Yeah. And can I look at my life and go, hey, I feel like I'm just unraveling here, but God is doing something with that unraveling that is a bigger picture than me. I am just one of the threads, one of the pieces in the thread, which becomes woven into the fabric. I'm like the very smallest part of that larger picture. And that's what we're seeing happening here.
Yeah, Jimmy, I use one of the things that I do here on the Dusty Feet a lot is I'll talk about the tapestry. Okay. And so, and we just watched some French show on this particular tapestry. It was neat because it had the tapestry, and it told the story, and it's telling a story. It's not just like you sat in a picture in a loom and you walked around this U-shaped, actually it was more like a worm that showed this long tapestry. And so the story is telling as the tapestry moves. So that's a part, right? And the stories are the big part. And do we realize that, no, I'm not the central character in the story. I'm not, because there are a few of them. You can say, well, that's what Abraham, and that's Isaac, and that's Jacob, and that's Moses, and there's David, and there's the prophets, and there's some not so good kings, and the stuff that goes on. And you realize, but in all of that, every single person is an element in that tapestry.
Right.
A thread. Right. And I'll say, maybe I don't know. I have to be careful how I say this. So, and I'm up for pushback, is that if you're part of God's story, guaranteed you're in that. You're a piece of the tapestry. You're a thread, even if it's a thread inside a thread to make a thread. That's the part. Are we comfortable saying, because we talk about power and being in this and walking in and doing that. It's like, I'm just a silk thread. And I hope that God puts me in that silk thread that's going to be woven into his tapestry. And then the finger of God gets to weave that picture, and I get to be a part.
Yeah.
But do we believe it's that versus my time on life has to have
big impact, significance, exactly.
Right. And I realized that take the short number, 150 years, they're part of the 400 years of the story of the 400 years that had that time, and you're an element in the story. Without you in the story, that story doesn't happen. So are we willing to do that in the part? And in that, I do like the part that all the threads in there are service to the person creating, right? They're just service. That's it. I'm not the needle. I don't determine where I go. I don't even might not determine my color. I just want to be that part. And again, part of what stories tend to tell us. I don't know, Jimmy, that's a very good point that you made about the Hebrew scriptures. So, and I'm not uncompelled. Again, you've heard me say this before, that I don't think the scriptures are ended. Meaning, I don't think that Genesis talked about a time before. Revelation talks about a time yet to come. So we're at this gap from like what we ended with Malachi, right? Then we pick up with some group gospel accounts, then smattering of letters. I mean, a smattering of letters. And then our lives and the recorded history that now becomes more of the deal. And we're here. So we're part of this tapestry. Do we believe we are? And Dad, you're on that part. Then do you trust that what you do, you want hopefully to be a, like you said, sometimes in the tapestry, you see the stories of the not so good kings, like I just mentioned. Maybe you don't want to be part of that part in the elemental story. And I don't know. And
we don't know what part we're going to be.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to be, I think,
because it's a hindsight look. You're right.
Yeah. Corey Ten Boom.
You would never. A
lot of your listeners probably never heard of her, but I
go
went
look
to
her
her
up. Go Google her.
I went to her home, not her home, but I guess it was her home. When I was in Amsterdam once, I went there, and you can tour it. It was very, you walked in the front door and said, "Is this Corey's place?"
It's this
and
big.
They said, yeah. You want to go upstairs and see the house? Yeah, okay, go ahead. He'll come up and tell you, very low key. So I went up there. One of the things was a tapestry, and what you saw was the backside of it, which is a mass of loose threads and all that. And then it turns around, and you see the front, and that's what we're talking about. We're the threads, but God's got the whole picture in front of him, and that just, I mean, I was all alone. I just decided I wanted to go there, and I would just sat there by myself, and just looking at that, thinking, dude, that was so true of life, because we absolutely have no idea what God is doing with us and through us.
Yeah.
And if I can just trust him, and I still get scared being my age. I'm not afraid to die. I'm ready to go be with him, but I'm not terrified, but I'm how am I going to die? I don't want to die in an old age home, with people changing my diapers and all that. Your mom was talking to Judy Seguin, and that's where George is. They've got him in a home now, and he's going to go back home, but she's going to have to help, and he's in a hospital. So there's that part, and every one of us in different stage in life. A 25-year-old isn't thinking like I'm thinking. They're everything. Yeah. And they say, I love God. He's been so good. Dude, you haven't even hiccuped yet in your life. But in his life, he has hiccuped.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he has felt. When he's 30, he's going to look back on this just like I did. When you're 40, you're going to look back. When you're 50, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But that's what I'm getting out of going through this right now.
Yeah.
Is that we're looking back, and boy, would I be a disciple. And I could see me sitting in that room going, I'm trying to figure this out. Okay, if we do this and this, then I'd probably be closer to Judas than I would to one of the really good, because I'd be trying to second guess this and
Yeah,
figure it
that's a
out.
comfortably uncomfortable sandal. But yes,
Mhm.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Between
Mhm.
that and Thomas going, did I just waste
Yeah.
3 years? And this whole banter that's going around, and they're really trying to struggle with this, and you can tell Andrew's comfortable with it, but Peter is. You can still tell he's still trying to fix something. In other words,
Mhm.
you see him and he's looking through the book and he's doing it. Matthew is literal, so I like, Dad, where you've taken this with the strings and each of these elements in the story as these storylines are converging, right?
Mhm.
Because in our next episode we're going to get to wrap up this, and we'll get to where something we've been avoiding intentionally.
Surprise!
There's a surprise at the end. For those that haven't seen it, please go see it, because don't let us be the spoiler alert. But we're gonna get to that, because it's a scene that is unexpected, because it's part of the storytell. It's not
Mhm.
part of scripture. It's part of their weaving the storytelling, but it's a thread in this that helps
Yeah.
add fullness to the picture, right? Which
Mm.
I like in
Mm.
this, and
Mhm.
what we're seeing in the weaving of the tapestry that
Mhm.
God's doing in this. And Dad, thank you for bringing this up, because that's a brilliant picture for
Yeah.
everybody to think about and see. So, any last words on this?
No, not me.
Okay.
Definitely, I've yacked enough.
Hmm. The only one I thought of, Dad, I know you don't want to go into an assisted living situation, but what if that unraveling enabled somebody else's story to begin? So just keep that in mind.
See, I mentioned this to him, right? I don't want to go on the diatribe, but when he got when he got hit by a car and he
Mhm.
was in the hospital, and
Mhm.
you're thinking, poor pitiful me, yada yada yada. I
Mhm.
said, but what if you're there to encourage someone else while
Mhm.
you're there,
Right.
to show that you can behave differently and expect differently, and how you're going to treat the people that are caring for you? How can you
Yeah.
help make their day better in your discomfort? Is an upside down thought.
Yeah.
And yeah, it but that's not what I want to do. I said, okay.
Well, and it's not what I want to do either. I don't want to go to a nursing home.
But I thought you just said you trusted God, right? These are one of those. These are
Right.
one of those parts of the occasion. I don't want to be part of the
Mhm.
story of 150 years, 250 years of the devolvement of
Right.
where we were doing well in the land and then we weren't,
Mhm.
and that goes with. Um, so like we said in the beginning, the resources we mentioned in the beginning, again, please feel free, because there's a lot of questions that can be asked. Um, and we enjoy these. I hope you're enjoying them too. Questions to talk amongst yourselves about. So thank you for being with us tonight on another episode of Sons of the Father on the Dusty Feet.